Next instructional video in this quick start guide. What I want to show here is the front end. There's several different examples and different lessons on this guide of different configurations of front end. This to me is one of the higher end front ends. You can go one step higher, which allows you to adjust here. It's kind of customizable. You can find those pre-built, you can buy them, but they are rather expensive. We have one racer that just purchased one. I think he paid $250. So aside from that, unless you're going to have one pre-built, this one here is probably going to be your second most expensive. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2. Yeah. There's 8 Heim joints there, tie rod ends and Heim joints. So your Heim joints are going to run you about $10 a piece, $10 to $12, which are these bigger ones. And these Heim joints, I'm finding them right around $8, depending on where you get them. So, but the advantage to this is now I can tow in, I can tow out, I can caster, I can camber, I can do all sorts of different configurations with the way it handles on the dirt. I can pitch the tires out so it'll trail better, and then I can do the caster, pitch the camber if I want, whichever way I want to go, and I can get that edge to dig. So it adds a lot, keeps the front end from drifting, so it makes it so that you can just tune it to where you're racing really very easily. So what I want to show here is this pivot, the way I built this. Now this looks like it's just a bolt. I've cut it off so it doesn't, hang down and hang up on things. But it's not just a bolt. There's actually a piece of flat bar that goes over the top of it. So what I did is I took something similar to this right here. Piece of flat bar, this is a piece of tubing that's been cut. And I set that down on there about like that, and then I welded that. So if you just weld a bolt down, it won't handle it. It really won't. So by doing it this way, I can get the weld out away from just the bolt. So that's what I want to show. That's one thing, is that it's actually got a piece of flat bar with a hole drilled in it, and then sit the bolt down. The other thing I want to show, well, let me put this on here real quick. I'll show you how this works. Slip that on. So the other thing I wanted to show you is my mounting. Now, I could have used the stock mount that come with this Sears frame, which is right here. I've done this before. I've just cut that out and then rotated it. And that takes a saw, just a sawzall, hacksaw. But the one thing that I found is this is wider than the front end piece that I'm using, and I had to shim it. And so with this one, I just decided to weld a piece of flat bar here, 1/8 inch, and then I have also done the same on the back side. Then I added a piece. I'll show you here. So this right here I've added. Now the hole originally when I took the stock piece out was about 2 inches, and so I've just filled that in so that it fits this front end that I've built. Now as you can see, it's on a pretty good angle, and that's that. I went 12 degrees back, so I'm using my protractor. So it's got a 12-degree rake. We were talking 10, 10, and 10. I ended up with 10, 10, and 12. So a couple degrees different, not that big of a deal. The big thing is that you want it to rake back. And then I've got my pivot here, and then I've got my pitman arm. Now what this is just a bushing that I pick up at a tractor implement store. The reason I use a bushing is it's seamless inside. And then I'll drill holes in it, and then I weld this piece of flat bar here on it. And then this just has a hole drilled in it for my tie rod on. So the other thing I want to show you is what I like to do is I don't like my steering wheel to be bouncing around. I don't like it to really be sloppy. And so what I do is I use this collet down here. And that's all that is a collet. So that keeps it from moving up and down as you're going around the track, and just allows you to tighten it up. And then, like I say, I build mine so that I can pull it all apart. If for some reason I flip it and bend the steering shaft, which you hear of, or for some other reason I need to pull it down, I try to keep it so that I can tear it down easily without having to get the big tools out, the saws, the grinders, that type of stuff. So, but I want to show you, so I'll show you how this works. Now this is this direct steering, so it's about a quarter turn on the steering wheel will give you full steering, full turn. So let me get back here. So if I turn this way, then you can see how that goes all the way over. Now, I think we talked about stops. And if you notice, this is full turn. This is my stop right here. And then when I go back the other way, there's and the stop is out on here. So the other thing that when you build these, is you want to make sure there's enough clearance up here. And that's kind of tricky. So make sure you got enough clearance for all these bolt heads to move past each other so they don't hang up. This one barely clears. And then the only other thing that I wanted to point out was I kind of missed this one. I've got 3 inches here, and I should have gone 3 inches here from that pivot to the center. I went about 2.5. So if you look at it, you can see how this arm, this tie rod arm, kind of kicks at an angle. I kind of missed that. If I wanted to, I could probably, and we'll see how it goes, I probably could move that hole, drill another hole and line that up. I think this one will steer pretty good though this way. But that's one of the things you want to keep in mind is, you know, if you go, I went 3 inches here, so I want to go 3 inches here. I turned around and went 3 inches here, and then I ended up 3 inches here. That way it's all symmetrical. That's kind of what you want to do. Now we talked a little bit about oversteering. Maybe you have. If not, I'll touch on it right here. If I wanted to oversteer this, overgear the steering, I could make this distance. See, right now I'm about 3 inches. If I made this distance out here to 4 inches, then that's going to be oversteered because it's going to take less of the steering wheel to move this 3-inch piece the full distance. If I wanted to understeer it so that I could get more steering wheel travel, more than a quarter, then I would make this piece at about 2 inches. And then it would take more steering wheel to get the same distance. So what I like to do is I like to keep them about the same. So 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches. And my experience has been that they drive pretty good when you do that. So I also wanted to show you, you know, this bolt in the front end. I'm a big fan of that. If for some reason I need to rebuild something or rebuild the spindle or anything like that, then I can just, instead of having to flip the machine upside down like this, do grinding and cutting, I just unbolt it. And I might decide that I want to try a different front end configuration. So rather than have to tear the whole machine down, I just jack it up, drop that front end out. It works out well. For example, this too, you know, where I missed this at 2.5 inches, I might in the future build this, rebuild just this piece, and I'll line this up at 3 inches so that they're all symmetrical. We'll see how it steers. We're getting close to race season, so I don't know how much tweaking and building I'll do. I kind of want to get this one on its wheels soon. So I think that's about it. That's the steering. You don't have to do this high-end one. You can do just one pivot per se, like on this side from the factory, and then run a rod all the way to the other. That'll work just as well. So I think that's it. and our next step is going to be clutching. So I tried to use the stock clutch on this one, but it doesn't look like it's going to work. So I'm going to be moving a few things around, and I'll show you what I'm going to do, and then we'll kind of go over it once it's done. And then other than that, we're down to flipping it over, put the wheels on. I do have to cut the fenders out just a little bit because this one, the wheels are so sucked up in now that the fenders will rub. Then we bolt the motor on, and then it's the fun stuff. Then it's the painting and finishing and stuff like that. So until then, we'll talk to you later.